Everybody out there in Facebook land, welcome to the Yoga Lab. I'm DL. So today I'm going to be doing some pranayama to start class and, or should I say practice? This really doesn't feel like a class. So some pranayama to start practice. And then I'm really just going to tune into my own body's needs and share from there some movements and stretches that I think will feel good this morning. So what you might need, obviously a mat and a place to lay down on the floor, but we will be working with a chair. So you'll want a very steady four-legged chair that preferably has a flat seat and nothing curved, kind of like the one behind me there. And it doesn't matter if it's a high or low back, that's fine. And when you use the chair, go ahead and place it on your mat if you have a yoga mat so that it doesn't slip. It's just a little extra precaution. And of course, if you have a folding chair, just be really careful with it, because if you step onto a folding chair, put your weight on it incorrectly, it can collapse the chair, and of course we don't want that. Chairs are made for sitting, folding chairs are made for sitting and not necessarily yoga. So the breath practice that we're going to start with, it's called the whistling breath, and it comes from Kundalini Yoga, and it's all about stimulating the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body. I think I talked about it last week. And good morning, whoever just popped in. And so this whistling breath helps to activate that nerve, and it will bring calm and centeredness to the body and help us feel more secure inside ourselves. So we're going to start there. Now, this practice, usually in Kundalini Yoga, you either do things for 3 minutes, 11 minutes, or 31 minutes. And so obviously we're not going to do the full length of time. I'm kind of going to go with just how it feels as I continue on, and you can decide whether to keep up or take a break from it. So we'll probably go actually for somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes, but we'll definitely do at least 3. And it's very easy, but the arms might become tired. So what I want to talk to you about first is how to support your arms, so that, you know, we can hold our arms up in space, and we're doing it with the arms, and there's like no support from the rest of the body, and it gets really tiring, and the limbs become very heavy very quickly. So what you want to do is you want to cover, I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see me better. Okay, so I'm going to be sitting on my knees. You can sit in a chair, or you can sit with your legs crossed in easy pose, whatever's most comfortable for you. And so what you're going to do is put your left hand over your right. So you're just covering one hand over the other, very easy, and then you're raising your arms overhead, kind of in a round shape around the head. Now, when I said before, like if you're trying to hold up your arms, they're going to get tired really quickly. And so what you want to do is have some tension through your arms and length through the spine, and also using the space above your hands to push into that space with your hands. That's going to provide you a place of rest. Believe it or not, space can provide that support that you can rest into, and that will allow you to keep your arms up longer. Also, don't worry about, dropping the shoulders down the back. Just let them be wherever they are comfortable. We don't necessarily, want to do this sort of thing. Obviously, we lose the shape. So just bring your shoulders down and relax them, but don't push them or pull them down, okay? And so this is where our hand will be throughout the whistling breath. So to do the whistling breath, very easy, unless you don't know how to whistle, and then it can be quite challenging. But you're going to breathe in over pursed lips and whistle. And then you breathe out the same way. And what you're trying to do is keep that whistle very steady and equal throughout the inhalation and the exhalation. And that's all there is to it. So go ahead and get yourself comfortably seated. I am going to use a blanket under my knees here. So I'm going to place these on the blanket on my ankles, and then I'm going to use a block to support my sits bones. Okay, so that's how I'll be sitting for this. Hi, Linda. Oh, goodbye, Linda. Okay, so, and I have actually my timer's over here, so let me grab that. Okay, so raising arms, left hand over right, overhead, finding that supportive space above the body. Nice long spine right up on your sits bones. Shoulders relaxed. And begin to inhale through pursed lips with the sound of the whistle. And exhale, whistle. And you can open your eyes or you can close them. Of course, if you close your eyes, it's going to take you deeper into your body. Keep it up. If your arms are getting tired, just see if you can find that space around you to rest into. And of course, if you need to rest and shake your arms out, you can, and then just bring them back up. But also, if you can push through that limitation of the mind that says this is uncomfortable and I can't do it, all the better. The more you're able to focus on the breath and kind of forget about the arms for a moment, the easier it will be, because the breath can actually make this easier. It's also, we are activating the vagus nerve. So really focus on the effects that you might be feeling through your body. And then the other thing is to really get deep into the sound. So just let your mind delve into the whistling and any harmonics you might hear. And we've already done 3 minutes, so we're on to our 5 minutes here. almost there. Now, deep breath in and hold. Stretch up through the spine. And release the breath and the arms. Good. Now, the gifts of Kundalini Yoga arrive after the practice. So, we really push ourselves to achieve something in Kundalini Yoga. And the Kriyas aren't always easy. I really feel it in my shoulders and arms. It's not pain, it's just exhaustion. And now the release comes. So feel the release and feel how that shifts and changes the energy in the body. My arms now are releasing a lot of guk. And just notice how the breath may have impacted you, as well as the sound. This particular practice engages the ears. So I guess you could say, in a way, it taps into the sound of Om. Just noticing sensations and changes and shifts in the body. So other than that pranayama, I had no plan for class today. I just wanted to follow the needs of the body. And what I'm finding that as a result of the whistling breath, that I do feel very calm and my mind is very clear. So I want to stay in this place for a few moments longer. I think it's our tendency in life to go from one thing to the next as quickly as possible, without pausing in between. But there are gifts in that pause. And so just to share with you, what this experience is like for me, so that you might be able to feel it as well in your own body or pick up other sensations. I'm finally noticing that the tension through the upper arms and shoulders is released. And I'm also really feeling the connection as I'm sitting with the block under my sits bones, the connection through my heels to the ground and then through my sits bones. A real strength and uprightness. It's so easy to keep my back straight in this posture. And I'm also noticing that my breath has calmed. It's more steady. It's less anxious. And I really feel pinned here. It's I know this is supposed to be a yoga class, but I don't feel like moving at the moment. I feel so comfortable through my seat. And of course, yoga isn't just moving around, which is a misconception. Yoga is many things. It's meditation. It's chanting. It's breath. And it's asana, which is the typical thing that most people think of when they think of yoga. The postures. And so now I feel my body kind of shift and it's ready to do some movement. So I'm going to come down onto my back. And actually, before I do, I just feel like being in this posture and kind of letting my knees just fall side to side and kind of rolling through the hip. Just seeing where my back is today, where my hips are today, what kind of freedom of movement and mobility I have. So I'm pressing into the ground with this foot, just, not pushing the floor away, but just acknowledging that I have a connection to the ground here as I move and roll my feet and roll the hips along with the feet, side to side. So the other thing, that I certainly had a habit of and still fall into sometimes is working too hard, pushing too hard, pushing away instead of, having a relationship and relating to the ground as a friend instead of something I have to fight against. And so we're just moving gently with the body rather than trying to do anything pushy and pulley. And part of that is really not going to extremes. It's moving more gently. It's stopping before the edge. Okay, so now I'm ready to come onto my back, so I'm just going to roll down. And keep my knees bent for the time being. Maybe bring them a little closer to my buttocks. And a little wider than hip width apart, but you can find where yours are comfortable. And since this is my first arrival on the floor this morning, I'm going to take my time to settle and adjust my body. Become aware of the parts of me that are touching the ground, all the parts of my feet. Just noticing whether the weight is more towards the left side of the body or the right side of the body, or even. And just becoming aware of the area around the back of the pelvis, where the sacrum is. That's usually a problematic area for me. So just getting a sense of what's tight, what needs to release, if anything, if it feels balanced or imbalanced, and just letting it be for the moment. And release to the floor. And then bringing my attention into the upper back. And I'm just doing some really subtle movements here to kind of feel what's going on there. After doing that whistling breath with the arms overhead, just checking for any residual tension, although I do feel as though it's mostly dropped away. And then resting that into the ground as well, feeling connected through each shoulder blade. And the backs of the arms. I still have some tension in my hands, so I'm just working my wrists and fingers. And then also feeling the back of my head against the ground. And even wanting to roll a bit right to left. Just kind of feel that edge of my stretch here. You know, we all have different parts of our body that grumble or give us problems from time to time. For me, it's my sacrum and my neck. And so I have to take extra care of those parts. Be gentle with them. So just rolling the head, letting it be heavy, and feeling each part of the back of the head as it rolls along the floor. Taking a breath and releasing, and then rolling the other way. So the breath, holding the head as it turns to the right or left, just pausing and taking a deep breath there and releasing the breath. My neck told me to do that. So this way of moving, this somatic way of moving, is about a communication with the body. Letting it speak and then listening to its message. back to center with the head. I want you to open your eyes. Go ahead and look right up at the ceiling. And then we're going to roll the head again, but you're going to let your eyes go in the opposite direction that you're rolling. So this might feel very unusual. And then back to center, so the eyes and the nose meet facing forward. And then roll the head off to the other side. The eyes go in the opposite direction. And then back to center with the nose and the eyes and the head straight. So going back and forth now, just letting the eyes go in the opposite direction, look away from where the nose is pointing. And then back. Good. So just a few times there, and then relaxing. Wow. So what I felt was a super deep release in the interior of my spine as a result of that movement, which is something I've never felt before, and that's an important thing to point out too, because the body is a miraculous and absolutely endless territory for exploration. There are always new sensations and new awarenesses, new things to feel and new things to discover. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is let's do one leg at a time. Just lift one leg up towards the ceiling and then down. And then switch and just feel what's happening through your hips, through the back of the pelvis as you lift and lower one leg and then the other. Also feel maybe what's happening through the solar plexus, the abdomen. And let's link the breath. So inhale up, exhale down. You don't have to keep your legs straight. You can keep your knee bent. And there's not a lot of tension in my foot here, so it's a very relaxed movement. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring up both feet. And let's have them right over your hips. So everything's going to be stacked. Hips, knees, and ankles for the most part. And you might feel some tension in your groin. Just see if you can release that and find the place where the bones can kind of stack one upon the other. Release some of that unnecessary tension. Let's do the same thing with the arms. So reach up towards the ceiling with the arms. And then release the shoulders back into their sockets. And so have a sense, if you can, of the limbs drifting off into space away from you. And feel rooted through the trunk and head. Pinned to the ground through the solar plexus, through the belly button, let's say. And just notice as you breathe in and out. Can you exhale and empty the belly back towards the ground? What impact does that have? What impact does your breath have on the lightness of your limbs? Can you engage more through the psoas, the upper psoas, which is right, along both sides of the spine and the back of the body, right in front, and right in the place where the ribs meet. From there, the psoas runs down both sides of the spine from this point of where the ribs meet. You can even press into and feel the rib cage here. And that part of the body, with the exhalation, can you engage that part? And let your limbs float away from you. Maybe the shoulders rise. Maybe not. So just play with this sensation of tightening through the abs. Because you are grounding through the back body. And then let's bring all the limbs back into that center and squeeze into a tight little ball. You can bring your head in towards your knees, or you can leave your head down on the ground if that's more comfortable for you. But the tighter you can make your ball, the better. I'm grabbing hold of the bottoms of my feet. If you can reach them, great. If not, just hold on to your knees or under your thighs. And breathe. And then relax back. If you're not with your back and head on the ground, just release back to the ground. And now what we're going to do, so find the floaty limbs again, but let the joints be nice and bent so the legs aren't straight anymore. And we're just going to allow one side of the body to open towards the floor. And when it gets to a certain point, you might feel that the other side of the body wanting to roll and join that side. So we're going to be opening and closing like a book. So when you arrive on your side, let the side of the body that's in touch with the ground be heavy. Release it. And then begin to open the top side of the body. Open, open, open. And just notice that moment when the other side, the lower side, has to follow. And then roll to the other side. When you get there, release completely the lower body. And then again, the top body starts to open, 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 float, float, float. And then there's a point where the bottom now has to follow and meet. So it seems that the theme of this class that's developing is about weightlessness, is about being able to float, at least for this portion of class. It feels so good to just let the body be light, to feel that freedom in space, and then to roll, to have that relationship with gravity. In fact, now, if you'd like, you can just kind of rock side to side with your limbs freely extending in space, and just feel how that floor can massage the tissues of the back body. Feels really good on my lower back. Feels really grounding. Then let's come back to just one side. And if you want to put your arm under your head, feel free. If you want a blanket there or a pillow instead, just make sure you're not kind of cutting off at the neck. And with the upper body, let's just begin to explore space and freedom of movement, that floating feeling. So maybe an arm will move behind the body as the leg comes forward. Just switching arm forward, leg back. And whatever inspires you, whatever your body feels like doing. So we're going to get some nice, maybe internal and external rotation through the hip, some circling through the ankles and wrists. All of this is possible here. So just free yourself. Breathe with the movement. For the moment, try to stay right up on the side body so that you're not leaning forward, although that's nice, and we'll get to that, and not leaning backward or opening into a more supine. Now, one thing I've learned, as I mentioned some body parts that I have trouble with, and the sacrum being one of them, that with this kind of thing where I'm on my side and I have a leg just kind of wandering in space, if I kind of sink into my lower hip and I don't have any tension in this leg, it creates problems for me. So that's why I'm flexing my foot. That creates some tension and support in the leg so that I'm not hanging off my hip or pulling on the sacrum here. So you can keep that leg flexed as you move, and that will just help give you some structure there. Now, if you want to begin to explore what it is like to maybe round forward a little bit, and then maybe even open up to the back. So instead of trying to stay right up on your side, you can start to wander and roll. And there's no right or wrong here, I want to make that clear. This isn't about yoga postures. This is about exploring the capacity of the body for movement and finding new ways to move that will later inform our yoga practice. And we do this slowly so that we can really listen to the body and catch ourselves before we do something. that might not feel good or that might be too deep. You know, you can bring your knee into your chest here and curl. You can use your forward arm to press into the ground, even coming up to both arms. Just finding places that want to stretch, that want to have some movement, get some freedom, some grace. And then slowly in your own time, stack yourself back up on your side. Hip over hip, knee over knee, foot over foot. Arm either propped right in front of your chest or alongside the body can feel really nice as well. But just feel that upper body now and just listen to what it has to say. What senses is it delivering to your brain? Let's roll for a moment onto the back. And feel here the difference between the right and left sides of the body. Noticing if the side you worked feels any different from the side that was on the floor. Which side feels more connected? Which side feels longer? Which side feels stronger? Just notice any sensation. And then you can simply roll to the other side. I'm going to sit up and then turn over so that you can still see me. So coming into a comfortable position on this side with hips stacked, knees stacked, and equal with the height of the hip. And then just beginning to feel some free movement here through the limbs. Finding that sense of floating for the leg and arm on this side as well. And notice that in order to float, something has to be really connected. And that's the side of the body that is on the ground. So let it continue to release downward, even as your other limbs take a ride. Staying right up on your side to start. And then at any point you want to, you can start to explore a little bit of rolling forward and back. Sounds are welcome. This feels so good to me. I just want to Again, a reminder about keeping some tension in this leg, especially if you have any sacral issues. And this side is my weaker side, so I can already feel it getting somewhat fatigued. So I don't want to shorten your process, but when you feel ready, just you can rest and sense that side of the body, or do a little more. It's fascinating to me that I could choose to do weightlifting or something along those lines, and I would have the same exact sensation in my muscles from doing that. But if I did that, it would be such an isolated type of movement to work a particular muscle, and I wouldn't be getting the pandiculation, the stretching, with the strengthening. That's what this kind of movement just astounds me sometimes for how well it works the body. And in a way that's more unified and embodying. So go ahead and roll to your back now and feel, again, both sides of the body. Hopefully they feel a little more balanced. Equally close and connected to the ground, equally strong, equally lengthened. Equally yummified. And if you'd like to take a long body stretch here, just wrap the muscles around the bones as you stretch long, tensing and release. Now I'm going to roll up on my spine. I know not everybody can do that comfortably, so you can just rock to your side and sit up. I'm going to rock and roll on my spine. Just coming into a sitting position. I'm going to have the soles of the feet together here in a butterfly pose. You can have them far away from your body, or you can have them close to your trunk. Whatever feels good. And let me turn towards you. I'm going to massage the bottoms of my feet while I'm here, because that's always a really nice treat. So just looking for places along the foot that might be tight or tense or just super tender, and being tender with those tender spots. Going in slow and gently. It can feel really good to drag your fingers along the lines of the metatarsals on the tops of the foot, the bones on the upper part of the foot. And even up into the ankles, just some rubbing, some tightening and releasing with the hands around that tissue. And sitting up nice and tall on your sits bones. And if this is enough of a stretch for you, then stay here. But if you'd like to come down more forward, bending at the hips. Or rounding through the spine. Breathing and releasing the breath. And with the release of the breath, releasing any tightness that you notice. And coming back up, extending your legs forward, giving a little bounce if you'd like, rocking side to side. And one of the things I felt like doing this morning before I started class was doing some lunges, but I didn't want to do them on the floor. So we're going to use a chair for some lunge work. So go ahead and grab your chair. And I mentioned at the beginning of class that you might not have heard that it's best to have your chair on a mat so that it doesn't slip. And you're just going to face your chair and bring one foot up to the chair, flat, and the toes facing directly forward. And then you're just going to lean, and what you don't want necessarily is for your knee to go very far past your toes. So if that happens, then just bring your toes out further so that when you lunge forward, you're still perpendicular here with your knee and ankle. And so I don't want this hip to just splay open. I want to bring it around towards the front. My toes are all facing in the same direction. And I'm just going to go back and forth here. So a little bit of a flow. It's okay if that back heel leaves the ground. So breathe with this. So I'm playing with my breath. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to inhale as I came forward or exhale as I came forward. I think I like exhaling as I come forward, but you might find you like to inhale here. We're going to add another movement to this. So now when you come back, you're going to straighten as much as you can the forward leg and just bend your body towards it. Keep your toes up and pulled up towards the body. You can hold here, or you can keep moving through lunge and stretch back. So either a flow or just holding. I feel like holding, so. Make sure that in the standing leg that you're not sitting into that hip. Pull up nice and tall in the standing leg. And then we'll release and change to the other side. You don't have to change sides of your chair. I'm doing it so you can see better, see me better. Okay, so finding your position so that when you lean forward, your knee is not any further over your foot than necessary. Just going back and forth. And, we didn't do this on the other side, but one thing that you can play with, you have the chair for support, but you can also play with your balance here and look up at the ceiling as you move. Or look off to the right or the left as you move. And just notice if one is easier than the other, if one is more challenging than the other. Again, remember to keep this hip pointing forward. So this is a really nice alternative to doing lunges on the floor. And it's certainly a lot easier on the knees for people who have knee problems. Okay, when you're ready, you can start to add bending forward into a long stretch for the leg, either holding or continuing a flow. And I just feel like adding a little bit of a back bend as I come forward, so you can feel free to do that as well. And we'll release in a moment, so just finishing up that flow for yourself. And shake out each leg. I'm going to take a moment to sit and just listen to my body and see what it feels. So go ahead and sit at the edge of your chair, nice and tall, both feet flat on the ground, knees about 2 fists apart or so. And just see what your body has to say to you. What part of you feels tight or tired? What part of you feels like it's not been part of the picture of this practice this morning, if anything? And I realize that my spine just wants some more articulation, so I'm going to invite you to either follow what your body just shared with you, or you can join me in some seated cat-cow. So we're going to just have the hands resting on your, above your knees, and you're just going to bring your chest through, arching your back, and then lead with the chest back. So actually, rather than think cat-cow like we're used to, I want you to think about this chest point right in the center of your chest as this point that there's a string attached to, and you are moving forward and back along that string, okay? So somebody's pulling you forward, and then from that same point they pull you back. So this might feel quite different than cat-cow, because we're not always working from one point. So breathing in as you come forward. Exhale as you round back. But notice that it might be a very different rounding because you're focused around that chest point. Last time. And then back to center, neutral. Taking any little squeezes or stretches that you feel you need or want. And then the last thing I would like to do today, dropping the hands to the sides of their chair. And then you're going to let the side body shorten toward one side of your body. Just let the arm be heavy. The head follows. And just kind of hang there, everything hanging. Now reach back up with the ear and let everything follow back to an upright position. And then let's go the other way. So the arm falls, drops. Everything follows the weight of the hand. When you get there, let it be heavy. Notice I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. I'm going right off to the side, staying right up over my my sits bones. I am not falling forward, and I'm not falling open back. So it's straight up and down. And then lead with the ear back up. So just do that a few times to each side at your own pace so that you're free to pause where you want. And again, get that sense that we had on the floor of lightness and weightlessness of the upper body, or at least the half that is floating upward. Notice if there's a weight shift through your feet. As you roll up the side of the body that's furthest from this roll, you can press in with that foot. So I'm probably right to left on screen, but for me I'm towards my left, and so I'm pressing in with my right foot as I come up. And now my left foot to come up. Good, and if you would like, you can also add a little forward roll here. So just round to the front, and then come up through the center, rounding up, and then off to the other side, rounding forward. Oh, feels so good. And rolling up through the spine, back to the center, and down. So there's a really beautiful flow, watery flow, like seaweed in the ocean, or seagrass at the floor of the ocean. That's pulsing with the movement of the waves. Release the breath as you round, and then breathe in as you come up through the center. Release. I think Martha Graham would like this movement. And then just finish those for yourself. So one or two more, and then coming upright. So again, just tuning into the sensations flowing through your body. Notice shifts or changes in your state of mind. Hopefully clearer mind, quieter mind. Feeling the full surface of your feet connected and grounded to the earth. Feeling your sits bones and your spine elongating up into space above you. Shoulders relaxed. Breath free and full. Let's rub our hands together here. Bringing your hands to your chest in Anjali Mudra. Breathing in deep. Hold the breath as long as it's comfortable for you. And on the next breath, we will chant together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this was beneficial for you, and I hope to see you again next week. Have a tranquil day.